Hello everybody.
I'm up here, bro. I'm up here.
Hello and good afternoon and welcome to Exploring with Alexander. Today we will be going over the motorway bridge and we will be exploring the remote Tilgate Forest with history. So prepare and get ready for a thrilling ride. Hello and welcome to Exploring with Alexander. Welcome to this new channel. This is my second video for this new channel and I really appreciate the love and support I received on my previous video about the acid bath murderer. Today we will be looking at Tilgate Forest. As you may have seen in the previous video, you saw Tilgate Lake, which is part of Tilgate Park. Tilgate Park is a nature reserve for the public. So, I welcome you to this new video. And let's begin. Tilgate Forest. Here is the history of Tilgate Forest. Tilgate Forest is part of Tilgate Park in Crawley, West Sussex, and it has a rich history spanning centuries. From its early mention in tax returns to its current status as a local nature reserve, it evolved from a forest estate, including a large mansion and furnace, to a park accessible to the public. The area has also been a site of historical interest, with evidence of Iron Age and Roman activity, though no direct evidence of Roman ironworking was found within the forest itself. Some of the key historical periods of Tilgate Forest. Tilgate was first documented in the 13th and 14th century tax returns, including land owned by William Yieldgate. Did you also know that Tilgate Forest had a furnace which actually existed within the forest itself in the 17th century? Tilgate Forest also had Tilgate Mansion and Estate. A large estate, including Tilgate Mansion and 800 acres of woodland, was created in the 1860s. It was associated with the Joliffe family and later the Nix family. The estate was sold and became Tilgate Park, including the park and mansion, and properties in Three Bridges. The mansion was later demolished and the area became a park for the public. The council that purchased the park is called Crawley Borough Council, and they purchased it in 1966 and opened Tilgate Park to the public in 1978. Tilgate Park also has a nature centre, and the nature centre was established in the year 1966, and they also decided to build a public 18-hole golf course, and it was developed in the 1980s. Today, Tilgate Forest is designated as a local nature reserve managed by Crawley Borough Council. However, I will not be showing you the nature centre and golf course today. I will be going over the motorway bridge.
We have now entered Tilgate Forest. Let the history begin.
Did you know that Tilgate Forest has a history of deaths? Tilgate Forest, now Tilgate Park, has a history linked to memorialising World War I deaths. In the year 1920, the land was purchased to create a recreation ground and a memorial for those who died in the war. Cast iron gates and a pillar were erected, and bronze plaques were engraved with the names of the fallen. The park's purpose evolved over time from a purely recreational area to a more landscaped park with paved pathways. Additionally, the area surrounding the park, including the former estate in Tilgate Forest Cottage, has a history of residents and events, including the 1894 burglary at the cottage and the passing of residents like Francis Loscombe. I am going to give you a more detailed breakdown about the past history of this place. Tilgate Forest had a World War I memorial. The primary connection to deaths is the park's establishment as a memorial to those who died in World War I. Tilgate Park's evolution as follows. The park has undergone changes from its initial focus on recreation to a more developed landscape park. And beyond the park, there is a wider area of Tilgate, including Tilgate Forest Cottage and the former mansion. Has a history of residents and events, some of which involved tragic outcomes. A notable incident from the year 1894 involved a burglary investigated by a police officer. A resident like Francis Loscombe lived there. However, the Tilgate mansion was demolished after being used as flats and by the Canadian Army during World War II. Now on to some really sad yet dismal news about the surrounding area, which is Tilgate Forest. A ex-soldier was found deceased via suicide in Tilgate Forest. The ex-soldier was a Mr. Aidan Knight, who suffered with post-traumatic stress disorder, which is PTSD, and was unable to get the right help from the right people at that time. This is a picture of Aidan Knight, and may his soul rest in peace. A second sad and dismal report is of a human body that was found in Tilgate Forest in the year 2015. Human remains, including a skull, torso, arms and right leg, were found in Tilgate Forest and believed to be those of a missing man by the name of Sean Levesque. These remains were discovered following the discovery of 2 bones by a fisherman in Parish Lane. Separately, in 2023, police investigated after a man was found dead in Tilgate Way in Crawley, with the cause of death still under investigation. Here is a picture of Sean Levesque. May his soul also rest in peace. Did you know that Tilgate Park and Tilgate Forest have a hell of a lot of history between the two of them, ranging from the Romans and the Iron Age all the way down to today's day and age? I will be telling you about some of the major points of this history of Tilgate Park and Tilgate Forest. Did you know there is now evidence of Iron Age activity in this region after a recent re-excavation of a major Roman ironworking site at a district called Broadfield, which you've seen a part of through Broadfield Park in my previous video. Broadfield is just west of the park. Beginning of activity here and in Southgate West just north is considered to be of late Iron Age origin. However, a recent 2011 archaeological survey of Tilgate Forest found no positive evidence of a major Roman ironworking site. The only possibility of a Roman feature was a single mine pit found south of the Tilgate Forest Recreation Centre, west of Titmus Lake, and so near the Roman ironworks. Did you know that the word mine is Sussex dialect for iron ore, and the feature was a bell pit which might have been dug much later? It is now accepted that the Romans were managing the entire high world as a strategic asset of military significance for the sake of its iron. In further history news, Tilgate Forest has links to the Saxons. The Saxons were certainly interested in using the thick woodland fringing the high world for pannage or transhumance, involving feeding pigs on acorns. Local place names ending in ley, that's L-E-Y, or den, which is D-E-N, indicate woodland clearings mutating into farmsteads as transient swineherds became sedentary farmers and were joined by other immigrants. Crawley was one of these, and the dense woodland belt north of the sandstone of the park would have been settled in this way. Did you also know that it has links to a deer park? On a gentleman's map of Sussex by the name of Speed, which was published in 1610, shows Worth Forest, which is much further on from Tilgate Forest but is connected, has two enclosed deer parks, Paddockhurst, now Worth Abbey, and Tilgate. Paddockhurst Park still features on modern maps, but there is no discernible traces of a deer park in the modern Tilgate Park. If any deer park was here, it might have been on the site of the present Tilgate playing fields, where a random scatter of large spreading oak trees was recorded on the 1875 large-scale Ordnance Survey map, and only a few of these maps survive. As I've mentioned to you previously and earlier in this video, Tilgate Forest had a blast furnace and a forge. It also had charcoal and ironworking. Going on, landed estate. The first subject is rabbits. After the closure of the Tilgate Forest furnace, the forest was converted to commercial rabbit warrens. This involved creating so-called pillow mounds for the rabbits to burrow into, which can be found in the present Worth and High Beeches forests. None has been found in the present Tilgate Forest, however, but later improvement works may have removed them. Tilgate Lake has a corn mill, or had a corn mill, in the 18th century, and it was first mentioned in the year 1702. This was still in operation in 1827, and later a house called lakeside, and it's not to be confused with the later restaurant. Tilgate Park has a restaurant called Lakeside, that's why it says that. The use of the forest for rabbits suppressed coppice woodland in favour of short grassland, with pollard beeches and oaks, some heathland and also woodland surviving in the narrow valleys. The Yeakill and Gardner in the year 1783 map shows the forest as heath. Also, the two Park Lakes and the surviving Furnace Lake next to Furnace Farm. The lane to the latter from Three Bridges was to become the main drive to the mansion. And as you know, Tilgate Forest had a mansion which was built in this area and was later torn down. Did you also know that fossilised dinosaur remains have been recovered from a Mesozoic geologic formation named after Tilgate Forest? The find spot was at a quarry at Whiteman's Green near Cuckfield, but the name given to the stratum led to the erroneous idea that the forest was the find spot, which unfortunately is not the find spot for these dinosaur fossils. This mistake has influenced scholarly works. The finder was Gideon Mantle, who was collecting in the quarry by 1813 and named the Tilgate Forest stratum. The dinosaur concerned was the iguanodon. Also, a very rare orchid flower was collected at Tilgate from the late 19th century into the 30s. A small white orchid, Pseudocris alba, that's Pseudorchis alba. The nearest colonies are now in mid-Wales. You can get to Tilgate Park via car and bus, horses and bikes, via foot as well. Also, on the last bit of history for this Tilgate Forest place, it also has a tree trail. A man called Owen Johnson pointed out the importance of the park's tree collection in the year 1998 in his Sussex Tree Book. In response, Crawley Borough Council has produced a guided tree trail leaflet and has labelled the more important specimens and invited sponsorship. The following are the trees selected for the tree trail, including those listed by Johnson as champions, unless otherwise indicated. They were planted by the Nix family. So there are 30 trees. I'm only going to name a few of them. So you've got the cork oak, you've also got the Chinese dogwood, the Roble beech, Cecily oak, Formosan cypress, Roble beech. You've also got the yellow birch, the Rocky Mountain Douglas fir, a swamp cypress, horse chestnut, sweet chestnut, redwood trees, Monterey pine, English oak, and more. Also, Tilgate Park has a variety of water sports. Also has an off-ground adventure course called Go Ape, and they also have a restaurant by the name of Smith and Weston. Amongst other places.
And to make it clear, and to remind you, this is Tilgate Forest, across the motorway bridge from Tilgate Park. So, it is to do with Tilgate Park, but it's a completely different area by itself. Special disclaimer video. for this second special video. Did you know that Tilgate Forest is supposed to be haunted? Haunted by quite a few ghosts from times past. But I'm not going to be doing Tilgate Forest hauntings. However, on our next video, number 3, we will be looking at 5 of the most haunted buildings in the region of Crawley, West Sussex, in the south east of England. So, are you brave enough to face the next encounter? We will see. Next time we will be looking at Asda's car park in Crawley Pegler Way, brewery shades in the town centre, the old punch bowl which is supposed to be haunted because people apparently have heard disembodied voices. How about the Quaker's watermill house over in Ifield, where 2 little boys are supposed to have been seen playing in the window in their imperial form. And last but not least, the George Hotel, where a night porter is supposedly meant to haunt one of the bedrooms there. So, until the next time, stay safe and stay well.